Hello everyone, Mitra is here.
My name is Vlad and we're realtors here in Toronto, Ontario.
Today we would like to talk about how to choose a top performing listing agent in Toronto.
Well, when people are embarking on a life-changing journey of selling their property, oftentimes they simply don't know what questions to ask to make sure that the agent that they select is going to deliver. And we're going to cover that topic in detail. All of that is coming right up. So Mitra and I go through hundreds of interviews potentially over the course of any given year. And what we find is that people that we're seeing are often not sure what questions to ask. And they're asking questions that are not helping them establish the proficiency of the agent that they're planning to hire and whether or not that person will deliver. One of the things that is often asked in order to establish the competency of the agent is whether or not that person is aware of what's happening in their immediate area. So one of the questions that we hear quite often is, how many homes have you sold in Wilmont Creek or in our specific neighborhood? And I really wanted us to talk about that and see if that has any relevance to the process of selling the property for the money that they want.
Definitely there is a value on knowing the local real estate market. However, if someone does not have any understanding of the dynamic of Toronto real estate market overall, then they cannot even represent their clients at the highest level. There are so many changes that is happening. People are moving from north to south, east to west, and knowing a broad understanding and perspective of Toronto real estate market is the key.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I have a bit of a radical take on this. In my opinion, it doesn't matter whether you're selling property here in Toronto, in Chicago, or LA, you're still dealing with people, you're still dealing with real estate. The basic setup is still the same. The question is whether you actually have the expertise to conduct the sale and to market the property properly. Unless your brokerage is located in Oshawa and you're selling parcels of land on Mars and you're dealing with aliens, the principles are still there and they still sound and they're still solid no matter what neighborhood you're working in. So to me, the local knowledge is not all that important.
Yeah, I agree that in most cases what we see right now, because we have listings all over the place from north to south, east to west, and we see how we can redirect even the traffic that are showing requests or the interest from one side of the city to another.
Exactly. So another thing that we hear quite often, and I would like to get your take on this as well, is where is your brokerage located? So really indirectly, people are trying to kind of establish the same thing. They're trying to see if the brokerage that you're with has local expertise. How important do you feel this is?
First of all, it's not really the brokerage that is going to sell your home. Is the realtor you are choosing, who you are going to have a very personal, profound, business relationship throughout, that is going to sell your home. And it doesn't matter where the brokerage is located, in fact.
Exactly. So just an example of what's happening with us. We're located at the junction of 401 and Leslie, more or less.
And we do have two more offices in downtown and one in London and Windsor.
Exactly, and we cover the entire GTA. We cover a very wide region. So that's the second question that people often ask. And a third question that they also ask is, what's the size of your brokerage? And to me, that is completely out of the scope of the questions that need to be asked. Whether the brokerage is 4 people, which happens to be the size of our team, 140,000 people, which happens to be approximately the size of the Keller Williams brokerage, it makes no difference whatsoever, because indeed it's the entity that you hire, whether that entity is an agent, he or she, or a team that's going to work for you and deliver the results for you. That is someone who's going to deliver and not the brokerage.
Yeah, because in fact when we list the home, one of the ways that we promote at the highest value is exposure through MLS, Broker Bay, which is way bigger than the size of a brokerage company. So knowing who you hire and what they are going to do for you is the key, not really the size of the brokerage.
Exactly. So the next thing people are trying to establish is, in their minds, they're trying to establish value. So that's the second point in addition to competency. And questions that we often hear them ask is, okay, how do we kind of purchase value? How do we purchase value? That's from the agent standpoint. They asking, are you offering staging on homes, right? That's a question that we hear quite often. What additional perks do you offer? Do you do cleaning, moving? Do you pay for lawyers, etc., etc.? That's the second thing that we hear quite often. Do you run open houses? All of those things don't require expertise on the agent's part. So when the agent is saying, yes, we'll do this, that, and that, they in essence purchasing the listing to work on. How do you feel about that? Are those questions important? And what do you feel about each individual point? Is it important to do staging? Is it important to do open houses? And in my opinion, it's important in some cases, but not every time. So maybe a more correct question would be, would it make sense for us to stage our home? Or would it make sense for us, with where the market is at in terms of market conditions and where we're located in a specific area, to run open houses? How do you feel about that?
I feel that there is a value on those questions. However, I do really see that this is a distraction of the core question that any seller needs to ask. So consider that someone could offer you staging, could offer you cleaning services or moving, but if they cannot sell, if they cannot negotiate, if they cannot network properly to really bring that pool of buyers through your home, none of that would matter. It's just really waste of money, waste of your time.
Exactly. And the last thing where we see people making mistakes is asking commitment related questions, right? How long is your contract? And the second question that we hear quite a lot is, what's the holdover period? And this is the funniest one of all, actually. But let's cover the length of the contract. How important is the length of the contract for us in order to deliver the results that the sellers are expecting? And why can it be important to them?
So the length of contract, in fact, depends on the motivation of the seller.
Okay, that's one.
Yeah,
the market
one.
conditions, obviously,
Exactly.
right, in this specific pocket.
And also the pricing. Some sellers would like to, come to the market and stay for a long time. And for that, definitely getting a listing for 2 months is already, we know the answer. If the expectation is really to test the water and get the most amount of money, we can get anything by just gaining time.
Exactly.
So could happen in a month, could take 2 months or 3 months. So knowing that from the beginning we have a clear understanding of what's the motivation and what price point we are coming to the market is the key.
And also where we are within the year, right? Because the
Exactly.
seasonality is important. The market is changing from season to season to season. And all those variables come into play. So really the question is not what's the length of your contract, but really how much time is needed to deliver the results that they want.
Yeah.
That's a better question to ask.
Absolutely. And also we know based on the Toronto real estate market stats that what is the average or number of days on the market, which gives us an indication of how long do we need with the right pricing, right marketing, right timing to get any homes to be sold. However, there are so many other variables, the price point and the dynamic of the market, the demographic of that market, and the time, whether we are in a high season or low season,
Exactly.
that we need to take in consideration for
Exactly.
sure.
And the best wrong question of all is the holdover period. That's just a
Yes.
simple misunderstanding, but we hear it so often that we thought we'd include it in this video as well.
Yeah, the holdover period is
What does it mean?
very
What does it mean?
tricky. In fact, the holdover period is related to during the term of a listing, if there is any potential buyer who comes through the door, see the house, and then decides to make an offer after the listing gets expired, that is really the situation that can be causing a problem. Being in a business for the last 12 years, I have seen only one scenario, honestly, that a potential buyer came through the door and locked the house, and then the listing got expired, and they made a deal with the seller directly without working with the brokerage. And the approach of any brokerage can be different. We let it go. We really didn't want to create bad karma. Whatever happens, happens. But this is really, I would say, brokerage to brokerage, people can make different decisions.
Exactly.
The holdover period, in fact, would not have any impact if a listing get expired and you come back to the market, different sets of buyers would come through the door.
Precisely. So now that we've covered questions that we feel are more or less irrelevant, we're going to talk in detail about questions that are exceptionally important. There are two parts really to interviewing an agent, and it's like interviewing or considering hiring an athlete on a team. You look at the statistics, so you do quantitative analysis of how well they've performed in the past 12 months, 24 months over the course of their career, and you do some qualitative analysis as well. Are they going to be a good fit, right? Do I feel good about them? Do I have a good gut feel about them? Are we going to run into problems, personality issues, say, a month down the road or not? So those two aspects are very, very key. And let's talk about the quantitative part of the analysis first and what questions you need to ask to establish whether this agent has delivered in the past and therefore is likely to deliver in the future. First thing that I wanted to address is a very important concept that a lot of people somehow miss is how many homes have you sold in the past 12 to 24 months? And Mitra, I really want you to talk about why is this important?
It's very important to know the track record of the listing agent you would hire. If someone has sold 2-3 homes per year max, how would you even trust in such a volatile market with so much uncertainty that they can really serve you to get you what you want? You want to make sure that you would team up with a listing agent who have really sharpened their skills every week, every day, that they are in appointments, they do meet with different people, they sell homes every day. And that is really what is very important to know, who you want to really hire, that not only they know your area, they are working within your price point, they have sold a lot of homes, and not only selling homes, at what is their selling to asking ratio?
Oh, that's kind of the second part, but I want to address that separately, right? To your point, that single question uncovers so many potential issues that are critical to the sale of the property. From, what information can you gather from the number of homes that those people have sold, the agents have sold in the past year to 2 years? You can gather information on their performance by calling some of the sellers, right, that they've worked with. Can you?
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely.
The testimonials, references.
Exactly, absolutely. We know that 30 to 40 to 50% with some successful agents are coming from the word of mouth and referrals for them. So if somebody is performing at a level of 70, 80, 100, 150, 200 transactions, etc., a bunch of that business is coming from referrals, and you know that people are happy. Mm-hmm. Number 3, you touched on that point, very important. They sharpen their negotiation skills, right? Every time there's a transaction, there's negotiation involved. So if they've been delivering 100 transactions a year, you know that they've negotiated 100 contracts. How better positioned will they be to negotiate yours versus somebody who's only sold 1 home last year? So there's a lot of issues at play. And one other thing that's worth bringing into this conversation as well, you know the stats extremely well. For the months of March, April, and May, on average, there have been 15,000 new listings coming on the market every month. With 53 to 54,000 agents on the market, we know that about 70% of them are sitting without any listings. They haven't got any listings, but they still, some of them are active. They're going on appointments. They're making presentations. They're trying to get the listings, etc. And look, I'm in favor of giving business to a new agent that's coming through the door, and they've been in the business for 3 months and they're really trying and they seem intelligent, know the market, know the stats, but they had no transactions. Yes, I would give them a try. But if somebody's been in the business for 2 or 3 years and they've not sold any homes, or they've only sold 2 to 3 homes, how would you feel about hiring that person?
I would literally not hire a new agent or someone. That's what
Okay.
I can tell you. It's great if somebody has the drive, but you don't want to really give a chance to someone who is just starting. Yes, if they are working as part of a team and they are able to be led by a top performing realtor within that team, would make sense. But you definitely want to make sure that you would give your listing to someone who is experienced enough, has had many transactions, and knows your price point, knows the demographic, who to attract, how to negotiate, that you can really get the best value of it.
Precisely. So next thing is list to sale ratio, right? So how do you feel about this parameter?
Great question. Of course, with motivated sellers, the home definitely will get sold. The question is at what price point and with how much pain or pleasure. So working with a top performing realtor, it would allow you actually to be in communication at a level that would be bringing a lot of playfulness and fun, knowing that everything that is happening, you would be informed, you would brainstorm, you would really be completely, touching the heartbeat of the real estate market weekly, daily, and be mindful of what's going on that you can get if there is any even, $10,000 more. This is your chance by working with someone who knows how to negotiate and top up the price.
So if somebody is consistently listing homes at 500,000 as an example, but selling them for 400,000, that means that every time they miss the price point of the market by 20%. Is that something that you as a seller okay with?
Yeah.
And by asking this question, you will really understand where they're at.
Yeah, we do have, this is a great point, because sometimes we go to clients, we definitely have our own recommendation. Of course, we are not God, we don't have a crystal ball, but we always come with a price range. And then that price range that we recommend, the seller has the choice to agree, come with that price, or they might decide to come with their own price. But knowing that what is the price point or price range that the listing agent is offering you is really something that you want to take in consideration, that if an agent is just getting a listing because of the price, or getting the listing because they really want to be true to you and tell you what's happening in the market and how fast do you want to sell your home.
Yeah, that's right. Mitra, before we get into any more questions, I want to ask you, I'm really curious, what's the purpose of that wristband that you have?
It's red and I have, my wrist is hurting me.
Okay, fine. It was bothering me, so
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, no worries.
Next thing is the ratio of buyers versus sellers, right? If you're hiring an agent that's predominantly working with buyers, and those two are distinctly different skill sets. Working with
Absolutely.
buyers is one skill set, working with sellers is a totally different skill set. If you're hiring an agent and you uncover through asking the right question that this individual is predominantly working with buyers, 70% of his sales are buyer related, would you feel comfortable hiring that agent? And if not, why not?
I fully agree. I truly believe the skills for a listing agent is completely different. You need to be hardcore, being very assertive in your negotiation, very aggressive at points, especially in this market that in fact the buyer agent are even irritated with what's going on. So you want to make sure that you would be a great mediator and managing the temper of everybody, at the same time keep negotiating. And if you have a listing agent who has shown proven record every year after year, of having 70% and more sale on the listing side, definitely this is the way that you want to consider to team up with that listing agent, rather than somebody who is having listings here and there. It's completely two different ball games.
So Mitra is bringing up a good point. So 70 to 30, 70% listings, 30% buyers is a very healthy ratio for a listing agent, because buyers are, in that specific case, are coming for the most part from the sales that they do, and it's the people that have sold homes for that are buying through them. It works out to be 70-30 approximately. So just look for someone who is within that range.
Yeah.
70% listings, 30% buys.
Exactly. We do serve a lot of buyers, but it's just really by through referral and relationship building, which is very, very important for any buyer agent to make sure that they spend a lot of time with their buyers, make sure that they understand what they need. And for us as listing agents, having 70% of our transactions through the listing side, we know that how we have been really great on building rapport with our client, that at the end they would decide also to buy through us.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is not really, a different angle of finding buyers and getting their listing. We just really first focus on getting the property sold, and with the relationship building that we create, then they are confident and comfortable that they can also give us the business on the buy side.
Exactly. Next question, which is very important. Nobody has a 100% success rate, or it's very rare over the course of a given year. If certain homes did not get sold, why didn't it happen? That's a great question to ask. What were the reasons for you not to be able to deliver and sell those homes?
Very good question. We definitely is very important to know whether the listing agent is very true to you on the pricing and have been communicating what's happening weekly, monthly, throughout the term of the listing agreement. And if the listing get expired, and in some cases if the seller has certain price expectation, we know that is happening more and more as the gap between what the seller wants and what the market is telling us is different. So knowing what are really the offering, if a listing agent is coming with a price that it does not make sense to the seller and the seller wants to take the property off the market, you need to know what are the alternative solutions that the listing agent is going to offer you. We, since in the last couple of years, we have had a lot of scenarios that we knew that the clients wanted to sell. With all the losses that they were encountering, we offered them alternative solutions. If they want to keep the house, rent it out, then one option. Or if they want to go with a short-term rental, if it allows another option. But if they really need to sell, then they need to decide what they want to do next.
Exactly. So you want to know what the agent's program is if the house is not selling for whatever reason. If it is not selling, you also want to know the reasons why.
Exactly.
Right?
And you want to also know that the listing gets expired because of the wrong pricing that came from the listing agent or because of the price expectation that you as a seller had. So this is really going to create a clarity for you. The next time you want to hire an agent, do you want to hire a listing agent who wants just to tell you what you like to hear, or you are going to hire a listing agent who would want to tell you the truth that would serve you at the end? Because in reality, who is going to lose at the end? Do you think that listing agent is going to lose?
Oh,
or the
yeah,
seller?
yeah, to a degree, right? They're not getting
Yeah.
paid, but of course the seller is
The
losing
seller
big.
is going to lose big time.
Absolutely.
When you look at the sales in 2017, whoever decided to wait and not come to the market, they know how much money they lost. And when the market is volatile, it really could cost a seller hundreds of thousands of dollars. So they have to really be careful of what is important to them, to be right or to listen to expert advice.
Yeah, yeah. So have you had a scenario where you would get into an Uber, you strike a conversation with the driver, and the driver is telling you, I'm a real estate agent.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Then the question is, why are you driving an Uber if you're a real estate agent? Great question to ask. Not specifically if you're driving an Uber on the side. No, that's not the question. The question is real estate your main occupation? Is that the only thing that you do, or are you actually involved in something else?
True.
This way you'll know. You'll know
Yes.
whether they're 100% committed to their craft or not really. They consider it
Yeah.
as a pastime.
Yeah. Thank God that the things are going to become more rigid when it becomes becoming a real estate agent. Effective the end of the year, OREA is going to be closed. But in fact, having over
What do you mean
50,000,
OREA is going to be closed?
and it's going to be, the program is going to be offered through the university.
Okay.
So it's not going to be really,
Okay.
people are not
Right,
going to
right,
take
right. Okay.
real estate licensing through OREA. So in fact, what we notice, if there are over 50,000 realtors, and if there are agents, because they are a family member and they get a listing, imagine the harm they are making, not only to the Toronto real estate industry, but at the same time to the seller, by not being honest with them. That if this is not really what they do every day on a full-time basis, why would they even get the listing?
So guys, we have talked about the quantitative part of interviewing the agent and extracting the relevant information from them to understand how they've performed for clients in the past, to see if they will perform equally well for you. So that's one part. And the second part, of course, is qualitative analysis, trying to see in simple terms of whether the personality that the agent has is actually matching yours, and you're going to be able to work with him or her over the course of the next few months potentially.
Mm-hmm. So the personality is really the key in any relationship. You want to make sure that you would team up with a listing agent who understands your needs, who understands your availability, who understands the way you want to communicate. And these are the really very important factors that can crash, if you are in conflict of the way that you want certain things and the listing agent is not present or open to, then it's not going to work. So knowing that you can really work with a listing agent who would be on your side, who would really be personable, who would listen to you, who would also be bold enough to share with you what you don't want to hear at sometimes. Because these are the quality conversations. The quality conversation is not always to say yes. The quality conversation is when there are certain things happening and they trust you. You trust them enough that they would come to you and they would tell you, guys, this is what's happening and these are what we need to do to go to the next level.
Yeah, exactly right. So, once you extract the hard data, so to speak, that shows you the track record of the past 2 years, it's time to kind of schmooze and see, how related you can feel to them, what their hobbies are, what they do after work, whether they have kids and dogs and whatnot. So just to feel whether there is any relatedness outside of the work environment with the agent that you're going to hire.
Absolutely. We do see clients that really we have so much fun even to go grab a coffee with them, have lunch with them, because they have become part of our family. They have become part of our life.
Yeah, exactly. So guys, we're going to be delivering this sort of content to you every week. It's important for us to see your comments. So please comment in the section below. Subscribe so that you do not miss the information we're going to be putting out every single week. Hit that notification bell, and we're really looking forward to seeing you again next week.